We're going to talk about order of operations. Now that's the steps that you follow in order to evaluate a mathematical expression or just to solve any problems. The big deal that you need to understand before we get started though is that you don't just work from left to right on a math problem. I know when we read books we just read from left to right, but on math problems there are specific things that you have to do in a specific order. So let's take a look at it. Now in the past you've probably heard of order of operations as PEMDAS. I teach it a little bit differently. I still have the P for parentheses and the E for exponents, but instead of having the MDAS part, I have M and D just mushed together and A and S just mushed together as well, because I think this reduces a little bit of confusion. So PEMDAS is now really just PECH. That's kind of what I call it. P stands for the parentheses. Now that's everything inside of those curved bars. That's what we evaluate first. Anything inside of those, we're going to evaluate that first and follow order of operations within the parentheses until we're done. After we've taken care of parentheses, we move on to exponents. Now exponents are this little number up here on top of the base number. On the next board, we're going to talk a little bit about what an exponent actually is. So I'm going to go into more depth in just a second for that. M and D, now you can't tell which one's on top and which one's behind. In the past, the confusion alert that we have, it's a confusion alert, is that we would multiply and then divide. But that's not the case. You multiply and or divide from left to right. This is the important part. This is the one where we may get confused. We multiply and divide from left to right. So if division happens and then after that is multiplication from left to right, we're actually going to divide first. That's why these are mushed together. The same thing happens on adding and subtracting. They're mushed together because we add and or subtract from left to right. Now let's talk a second about exponents before we move on to some examples. Exponents really have two parts to them. An exponent is actually this tiny number right here, and then the larger number that it's attached to, kind of like an ear or a zit or something like that, is the base. Now the exponent, like it says here, tells you how many of the base to multiply together. So since we have 4 to the third power, that's the way we say that, 4 to the third power, we're going to multiply 3 4s all together. We would do 4 times 4 times another 4. This is not just multiplying them together. A big thing that we could be confused about is that you see these two numbers and you multiply 4 times 3 and say it's 12. That's not the case. We would need to do 4 times 4 times another 4. That's not 12. Be aware of that. Now, let's take a look at a couple examples. We have 8 plus 2 parentheses 11 minus 4 divided by 2 parentheses. And then we have 17 minus parentheses 2 to the third power plus 6 parentheses plus 5. I want you to pause the video if you're comfortable enough with these to work them out on your own. And then after you do that, hit play and you'll see me working them out. But I need to grab a pen first. I like to underline the part of the problem that I'm working on, the step that I'm doing. So first things first is I need to do what's inside of parentheses because that comes first in order of operations. But now I have two things going on in here. Like I said earlier, we follow order of operations within the parentheses. So I have subtraction and division. I know division comes first. So I do 4 divided by 2 is 2. And I'm just going to rewrite the rest of the problem. So now we have 8 plus 2, and then in parentheses, 11 minus 2. Now we can finish out the parentheses. 11 minus 2 is 9. And I rewrite everything after I've done that. It helps me keep track of the problem. It's not just unnecessary work. Now I have addition, and then I have these two numbers next to each other. It's not 29. Since I have 2 next to a 9 that's in parentheses, when two numbers are kind of butted up against each other like that, we're actually going to multiply them. So addition and multiplication. Multiplication comes first. 2 times 9 is 18. And then 18 plus 8. Well, I know 8 plus 8 is 16. Plus that 10 is 26. That's our answer. And I boxed it in so that I know exactly where my answer is. Let's look at the next one. Let me scoot over there. We have 17 minus, parentheses, 2 to the third power plus 6, parentheses, plus 5. Again, we're going to go inside those parentheses first. I have exponents and addition. Exponents come first. This is not 2 times 3. It's not 6. It's 2 to the third power, which is 2 times 2 times another 2. 3 2's that we multiply together. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. I've rewritten the rest of the problem. I'm going to finish out my parentheses. 8 plus 6 is 14. Rewrite everything else. Now I dropped the parentheses off after that because I was done with them. You can do that if you'd like. 17 minus 14 plus 5. Now this is an example of working from left to right with addition and subtraction. I have addition over here and subtraction here, but since they're mushed together, I'm going to work on them from left to right. So I'd actually do subtraction first here. 17 minus 4 is 3. Underline that. And then 3 plus 5 is 8. We have our answer. That's it.